The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Okay, welcome back to the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. I'm Nick, and with me, as always, is TJ.
This guy.
Who's on hammered.
I'm trying. I'm on my way.
So, in case anybody's wondering, we've got a little bit of a format change coming on with the show. Unfortunately, our dear lawyer is unable to make a full-time commitment to the show at the time, and he won't be on the show for the foreseeable future. So we will miss Anthony, but he's not with us on the show. It's no just so everybody's clear, there's no bitter feelings or anything. It's not like we had a nasty breakup and we're fighting over who gets the kids. It's just that, life comes at you pretty fast, and if you don't stop to look around, you could miss it. And he's trying to do his best not to miss anything. But we will miss Rook, and he's always welcome back to spend some time with us when he finds himself the opportunity.
I was waiting for the I will remember you drop there.
Rook, we love you, kid.
Oh, yeah. Rook's got some life going on. Not that we all don't have life going on, but Rook's made some big life moves so far. So in this year, it's an exciting. Oh, it's great. It's absolutely awesome for him. It's an exciting 2023 for sure. So, I mean, I'm sure Rook will be back sooner than later. I know he can't stay away from us and resist the urge to come on here and absolutely shit on a athlete or two. So, we'll see him soon.
We'll see you, buddy. But before we keep going, I got this at Duty Free coming back from Puerto Rico. In case you didn't know, if you go to Puerto Rico, for some reason, they let you go through Duty Free. Don't know why. It's awesome, though. It's part of the United States. I have no idea why we get Duty Free, but I'm not here to file any complaints, right?
Isn't it technically its own country, though?
No, it's not. It's Commonwealth of the United States, just like Massachusetts.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Why did I feel like it's
like Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay.
But yeah, check it out. So this is a 16-year-old. It's a rum from Bacardi, and it was actually put in I want to say it was in a whiskey barrel, and that's why it's dark, because they.
Well, I mean, it could just be aged in any barrel, and then it's a rum barrel. It doesn't mean it's. I mean, aged.
They use American whiskey barrels.
Okay.
When I went to the factory, they were like, "By the way, all of our dark liquor, actually, they said all of their rum is in American whiskey barrels,
like pre-used."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they'll have a whiskey barrel from like Tennessee or something like that.
Right.
And they empty out the whiskey. They send it back. They send it over to Puerto Rico, and they put rum in it so it can steal some of the flavors.
Well, I'm sure you know why there's an abundance of bourbon barrels for those things, especially like beer and stuff like that.
Is it you?
What?
Because of you?
No. I didn't mean the consumption-wise. I mean bourbon has to be fresh oak barrels, and fresh charred oak barrels. That's it. One-time use. Bourbon. Done. After that, over with. If you reuse it again, get the extra flavor out of it, then it's whiskey. It's no longer bourbon. Bourbon has to be a one-time use barrel.
Bourbon's made in Kentucky.
That's not true.
Bourbon's made in Kentucky.
Bourbon can be made in Kentucky. Bourbon's made in America.
No.
Would you like to bet? Would you like to bet?
If it ain't from Kentucky, it ain't bourbon.
That's not true at all.
In France, it's not champagne.
That's not true. The champagne one's true. The champagne one's true. The bourbon one is not true. Anywhere in America, you can make bourbon. You can Google it all you want, pal. I'll let you sit here and have the dead space, but that is a fact, Jack. It's an American thing.
It ain't from Kentucky. It ain't bourbon.
It's not true.
Bourbon sold in the U.S. must be produced in the country from at least 51% corn and stored in a new container of charred oak. Look at you. But it also needs to be made in fucking Kentucky.
Nope, doesn't say that. See that, dude? I right down to the wood that they use. You'd have been like, I don't know, it looks like fucking cedar. Get the fuck out of here.
Moving forward, as I drink this delicious rum, and normally I don't like dark rum, but this is this is a sipping rum. This isn't. This is how I figured this out. Right, I just found this out. Apparently, if a liquor comes in a bottle with a cork, that's supposed to be drank with ice. If it has a screw top, that's a mixer. So if you get Bacardi and it's a screw top, that's for your pina coladas, daiquiris, shit like that. Okay. If you get Bacardi and it has a corked top, that's to be mixed with maybe ice. Maybe.
Is that just a Bacardi thing, or is that?
I don't know. It would make sense because what liquors come with screw tops other than fucking vodka and rum? And the cheapest ass fucking whiskeys you can find.
Yeah, I mean, Jameson is a screw top.
Yeah, because it's a shitty fucking whiskey.
I wouldn't call it a shitty.
I'll drink Tulum before I'll ever drink fucking Jameson.
Listen, I won't argue with you. I'm not the biggest fan of Jameson.
God bless my coworkers. God bless them. Somebody bought me Jameson one time, right? Mm-hmm. And I swear to God, the same shit happened to Ulysses S. Grant. Somebody bought me Jameson one time. I'm not a Jameson guy. I personally, I don't care for it, right? So I leave it in my office, and every so often I'll grab a shot with other people. You know, like somebody's having a baby. Hey, come in here real quick. Let's have a little toast to your new kid. Oh, you got promoted. Let's have a quick toast. So the guys always see that I have Jameson in my office. Again, it's not because I like Jameson's, because somebody bought me Jameson one time. And so then like it became like a fucking ball, like a snowball rolling down a hill where people see that I have Jameson in my office. Christmas time rolls around and everybody starts buying me Jameson. I swear to God, the same shit happened to Ulysses S. Grant. Like somebody gave him a cigar one time and he was in and all of a sudden they hear the battle horns. He didn't want to be rude and like put it out. And he didn't smoke at the time, but he didn't want to be rude and be like, no, I'm not going to smoke. Because the guy was offering him, an olive branch of a cigar. So he goes outside and he's just chomping on this stogie while sitting on his horse because he doesn't want to be rude and like just throw it away mid-battle. Some reporter wrote down in a newspaper like, General Grant stood there chomping on his stogie. And everybody in America mailed this guy cigars. So he never had to buy a cigar again for the rest of his life. And he died of cancer. He died of cancer in like throat cancer or some shit like that.
Jesus.
Because all these Americans sent him cigars and he just thought it'd be rude to throw them away.
That's fair. That's commitment to that's commitment to not being, offensive to your fellow compatriot, your fellow American.
He was a bit of a drunk, but he was a gentleman.
Listen, I'm a Powers guy over Jameson myself, but I won't turn down a shot of Jameson, especially for a toasting situation.
That's because you're Irish, not because it's good.
Please. Please. I'm not the one that has it in my office.
Again, it was a gift. That's why it's not in my house.
Yeah,
I bring good
great
to my house. Stuff I'm willing to share with others stay in my office.
Yeah. Yeah, in your house. Nobody gets to go to your house.
You can come by whenever you want, sir. You're in my neighborhood every day. Every day.
I've been to your job more than I've been to your house this year.
I don't feel like that's true.
It is true. I consider the corner coffee shop part of the base. So,
all right, fair enough.
When I go get my weekly breakfast there, that counts as being at your job.
I'm gonna make sure that they arrest you next time you trespass. Then, moving forward, pitchers and catchers reported this week, and to me, that's obviously a lot of baseball fans feel like that's the start of baseball season, and honestly, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but do you get excited? Does that excite you?
It excites me because I know what happens in like 2 weeks.
I don't get excited for baseball until let's say on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, right? It's not really spring yet, but it's approaching. and then you kind of like look out your front door and go like, holy shit, it's kind of nice out. The sun's out, and then you pop on like Pix 11 or Yes Network, and it's like, holy shit, they're playing baseball right now down in Florida, and it looks amazing. Awesome. No, it's baseball time. I get excited.
I love baseball so much it hurts. So, like, I'm right now.
Get that looked at.
I think World Baseball Classic starts on March 8th. I'm actually looking forward to that. Talking about that, we've had a few people drop out of the World Baseball Classic. Right now, Nestor Cortez has dropped out of the World Baseball Classic after experiencing some tightness in his leg.
Smart man. Good for him.
And you know what? It happens, and I understand he's got a full season ahead of him, and I get it. So, but I saw a lot of fans saying, oh, thank God, screw that crap. It's such nonsense. And me, as a Patriot, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, so what you're saying is that fuck representing your country?
Not at all. I think it's more after the Montes news. Yeah, don't go.
The Montes news, he was injured when they traded for him. All right. So Montes getting injured.
I get it, but
workload or anything. It has to do with Brian Cashman being a full-fledged moron.
Well, no, but that's beside the point. But when you're coming into the year thinking that you got somebody that might be active and there's no shot.
I knew that guy wasn't pitching, and he's the number 5 starter anyway. Who gives a shit? Man, I was sure we had somebody reliable, though, like Jordan Montgomery. Nice lefty to throw.
It's the Yankees are going to have the same issue that they had last year, is just dead holes in the lineup, like black holes where it just gravity. Just strikeouts levitate. They just get pulled into them, right? And then just inconsistent or no pitching.
Yeah. Yep. But what are your thoughts on representing your country versus? And we don't have to just relegate it to baseball. We can talk hockey too, because that's basketball too.
I love it. I don't. The one thing I really don't like about the World Baseball Classic is the fact that the timing of it is the wrong time. Everybody's going into the season, and considering the World Baseball Classic is 80-something% MLB players, active roster MLB players, starting active roster MLB players, you're doing it at the time that they do it is very inconvenient, and you have these situations that arise where it's like, oh, dude, like if I'm already getting sore and tired and tight and I don't feel 100%, like, do I really want to risk my season right now for this?
So I would think that if you were going to play in the World Baseball Classic, wouldn't it be a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter to start your training regimen like January 1st?
Common sense isn't so common though.
I feel like every fan they all think that like if the player doesn't train with the team, then he can't train at all.
That's stupid. I mean, let's put it this way. The majority of MLB starters, like starting players, not just pitchers or anything like that, the majority of MLB starting rotation players, anything, you could be the backup catcher even. If you know you're going to be playing even a little bit of the MLB season, you're probably well off in life monetarily. And if you play in the city that you live, you can't tell me you can't walk into like one of those MVP baseballs or like those baseball runs like where high school kids are working out like, hey guys, what's up? You mind if I work in? People are going to be like, holy shit. No, get out of here. Haha, we told that MLB player off. They're going to be like, dude, is that Anthony Rizzo? Yeah. Can you sign this? Yeah, I'll sign whatever you want. Somebody throw at me for a little bit.
You're right. And the thing that I think people are going to get hurt. Only in 2023, because in 1970 they're going down to Puerto Rico and playing Caribbean ball, all of them, not one or two guys, and we're talking in 1970 when guys played full seasons.
You know what? And it's funny with what's going on right now, and we'll get to this point in the show. But Tiger, he's back, makes a start at the Genesis, and I remember when Tiger started getting to the mid part of his career, still in his prime, still in his peak, but he put on some size, he put on some mass, he put on some muscle. And then the injuries started, and a lot of people were wondering, like, hey, like physique is great and all, but not when you could be skinny as long as you're still piping the ball 330. You don't need to put on size. You don't need to put on muscle. You don't need to be doing these things. And while I would say that a lot of sports have gotten better with these guys having a better training regimen and being more active in the gym, and they're getting stronger, they're getting more fit. They definitely don't look like the baseball players of old look like the Sunday morning beer league softballers that we pass by on Father Capodanno while we're riding bikes in the summer. It's just, I mean, I'm not trying to say that they were completely out of shape, but they're not in the shape that these guys are in today. But while they can hit the ball farther and they can throw the ball harder, is it worth the stress and strain that they put on their bodies to where they're like, they have that throttle pinned to the edge and it can go at any moment.
Let's be honest, though. The reason they have that throttle put to the edge is because it's a guy having a fast car who doesn't know how to drive. The reason you do a quarter-mile race is because you can't drive.
Right.
Just straight for quarter mile. That's
traffic.
it. Because if you had to make a left at that turn, you'd crash and die. So these guys today, they all throw 102 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, and everybody thinks like, oh wow, guys back in the day couldn't do that. Bob Gibson could throw 102 miles an hour, and so could Nolan Ryan. If you fucking sit there and think to yourselves that those two guys couldn't throw 100 miles an hour every fucking pitch for 5 innings like these guys do now, because none of them throw complete games, you're high as a motherfucking kite. High as a kite, okay? To think that somebody back then wasn't as good as a guy now is just completely ignorant, okay?
I think
dangerous.
I legitimately think the best example that we can throw up there is Noah Syndergaard. Noah Syndergaard decided to come out and be like, oh, my nickname is Thor, and now I'm going to get jacked. And he put on some size, and he looked awesome, and he appeared in, one of those as an extra in the background of Game of Thrones, and everybody's like, holy shit, he looks awesome. He hasn't looked awesome on the baseball diamond since he put on that size.
It's Lou Piniella said it. He goes, listen, I played like 16 years Major League Baseball. I spent 14 days on the disabled list my entire career. 14 days. He's like, you know what I did? When it was baseball season, I played baseball. When it wasn't baseball season, I drank beers. He's like, these guys all year long, they're in the gym lifting weights. He goes, you can't stress your body like that all the time and think that you're going to be okay. And it's the same thing with these pitchers. You can't throw 100 miles an hour every single pitch. You can't throw, and the problem that they have is that unless they throw their absolute best pitch, they will get banged around. And it's not because the batter is so great. It's because they can't hit their spots.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. If you could throw 95 and hit it on the edge, I don't care how good that batter is, he's not hitting you. Because he sits there and he looks at it and he goes, that's not a strike. I'm not going to swing at it.
The funny thing is, especially with pitchers, with the way the game has changed, and people tell me I'm crazy and it doesn't matter and it's a non-factor. Coming from somebody who pitched most of their, life and into their adult life playing, men's league, beer league baseball, and I had shoulder surgery on my throwing arm. All right. I could maybe throw the ball 78 miles an hour after that, 77 miles. Not that I was pumping in the high 80s before that, but I mean, absolute grit in my teeth, 77 miles an hour. That's nothing. High school freshmen throw that in a decent school program. The difference was that I knew if somebody was leaning in a little bit, dust them back. And nobody does that in the MLB anymore. It's almost like you're offended and warnings go out when you throw sweet chin music up, high heat right up in their face. Where was that part of the game that was expected? That the pitcher owned the plate. And if you got too close, he was letting you know, because why? If you're uncomfortable, your weight's not set back and you're not looking to drive the ball, you're looking, holy shit, he's going to fucking hit me with another one if I lean in on this.
Yeah. I mean, again, Nolan Ryan did it. Bob Gibson did it. Roger Clemens did it.
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez did it. You're absolutely right. A lot of guys did it, but nobody does that anymore because, again, they have no control. If they throw 100 miles an hour, throwing up and in, they're going to kill someone.
Well, that's the problem, especially when I'm throwing 77 miles an hour inside on somebody. Guess what? They have plenty of time to get out of the way. They could walk to the deli and order themselves a Coke or a root beer and get back to the plate and still move out of the way before the ball gets there. But guess what? They move out of the way. Now they're on their heels a little bit, and I hit the outside corner to strike. And even if they get around on it, it's going to go foul. They're going to push it out to the right field, benches out of play. You know what I mean? You want to get people, not comfortable. You want to be.
I truly do not believe that these guys. There are a few guys that are elite, that do have control. But at the same time, they burn themselves out to the point where they can only throw 5 or 6 innings. Garrett Cole could probably throw complete games 10 times a year if he would only throw 95 instead of 101.
Right.
But they don't care. The way the game is built now, they don't need to. So they're just like, all right, balls to the wall. And here we have somebody like Jacob deGrom, where we see him on the injured list more times than we see him on the mound because he cannot pitch effectively without throwing 100 miles an hour. And everybody goes, oh, that's not true. It is obviously true. Explain why injuries are up so much. Back in the day, people got injured and still played. Now, it's every time they get injured, it's a career-ending injury. I mean,
I don't think I've ever heard more oblique strains in my life. I didn't know what an oblique was until baseball like 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing Tommy John surgery more and more every year. You're seeing more and more Tommy John surgeries. Let's just bear in mind, Tommy John didn't play baseball until the 80s. So where were all the guys tearing their elbows apart prior to Tommy John?
Yeah. How about the fact that you'll have people say that pitchers are better off just getting blown out their elbow and getting Tommy John surgery because they come back better anyway. So you might as well do it because you're going to do it anyway. Clearly, you're throwing the fucking ball wrong, no?
You're overstressing the situation. But back on point about the World Baseball Classic, it does bother me a little bit that I think the worst part about it is that the fans don't treat it with the respect that it deserves. And because the fans don't give it any respect or credence, then that makes it seem like Major League Baseball or the players shouldn't care. And for me, I'm like, well, I remember a couple of years ago, there were a couple of guys that played in the World Baseball Classic, and the season started, and those guys started like their hair was on fire.
Yeah.
Like they lighten it up and they didn't die off. I remember Ichiro getting into the season and just having a fucking awesome season because we had the World Baseball Classic. Mind you, Japan starts their season earlier than Major League Baseball. Right. So it could be that the Japanese players, their regimen starts earlier and therefore they have a little bit of an advantage. I want to say their pitchers and catchers report like the 2nd or 3rd week of January.
You know what though? I don't think that's not it though. It's 100% the fact that, like you said, you're in the World Baseball Classic, and if you give any little bit of a shit about your teammates and your country and getting to see people that came from the same place you came from and now are in the major leagues, and you get to have that bonding experience, you're playing games that matter before the season starts. You're walking into the season just rolling right into like, hey, these fucking wins matter. Let's go, boys. Let's get it. Come on. You don't have that lull in between that, like, all right, we got to get going now. No. You've already played games that matter. You played elimination games. You're going right into almost like a playoff mode where it's like, let's get the win. Cut the shit. Let's get the win. Yeah. And I love it.
The other thing I like about the World Baseball Classic, there are certain players, if you're a fan of baseball, but you don't necessarily watch other teams other than your team, you do get the opportunity to root for other players that normally you'd be rooting against. So it's kind of cool for me, at least. I get to root for Mike Trout for a change. I remember Adam Jones playing balls to the wall, winning us. I'm pretty sure he won us a gold medal in the World Baseball Classic a few years back. Or at least contributed to winning. I remember him robbing a home run in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just kind of being like, wow, I really like Adam Jones. At the time, I may not have thought much about him, but the fact that that he did, 2017, he did win. Was on the 2017 World Baseball Classic team that won the gold for the U.S. And I remember the highlight was him jumping up over the wall and robbing a home run, I believe, against the Dominican Republic. And, I had respect for Adam Jones from that point moving forward, because up until that point, he wasn't on my team. I didn't think much of him. He played for the Orioles.
Right.
It was like, whatever. But then at that point, I was like, respect Adam Jones because he played balls to the wall for my country. And a lot of fans just don't give a shit. They don't care about America.
I wish the World Baseball Classic had a following like, FIFA World Cup had. And obviously it takes a lot. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of advertising to get to where it is. Baseball is a very, I don't want to say like, America-centric sport, because it's not, but a lot of the islands around America play it. And then you have Japan, and it's very sparse. Europe, you got little to none. It's not going to catch on until it catches on.
Well, this year, actually, this year, they do have teams from multiple countries that normally you wouldn't think of as baseball countries. Now, I think one of the things in baseball, at least, that or the World Baseball Classic, that is kind of different is, unlike the Olympics or FIFA, you can play for a country through your heritage as opposed to strictly and solely toward your nationalization. So, like, obviously I'm American and therefore I can play for America, but that's it, right. And if you want to play for another country, you have to become a citizen of that country.
Right.
But in the World Baseball Classic, if you're like a couple of years ago, if I remember right, Francisco Cervelli played for Italy, even though he's Venezuelan. But obviously his father is Italian, so he played for Italy, though he is not from Italy. He's from Venezuela. So I think that's kind of cool, because then, like, Israel has some major leaguers on there. You see some major leaguers from England and whomever. So this year, for instance, you've got Chinese Taipei in it, and they normally do. They are normally, that's Taiwan. They're usually in the World Baseball Classic. The Netherlands is usually in the World Baseball Classic because, as you know, Curacao is a very big. They come out a lot of baseball players, especially shortstops. Jerkson Profar, guys like that come from Curacao. Andrew Jones came from Curacao. Cuba is obviously playing in the World Baseball Classic, though I don't believe the Cuban team would allow Americans to play for them. So if you were American, like Nestor Cortez could not play for the Cuban national team because he moved to the United States.
Right.
Italy is in the World Baseball Classic. Panama, Japan, Korea, Australia. I think Australia is kind of like a surprise. Like, oh crap, they play baseball in Australia. Right on. China, Czech Republic has a team this year.
Wow.
Go figure. Good for them. The USA, obviously, Mexico, Colombia, pretty normal teams. Canada, which obviously they play baseball in Canada. They have the Blue Jays. Great Britain has a baseball team now, which is kind of cool. Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Israel, which Israel, I remember, I can't remember who it was. He played right. Sean Green played for Israel years ago. And Nicaragua has a team this year, which I did not see coming, because I don't believe they've participated in years past. But that's kind of good. It's expanding a little bit. I believe the first game is on March 11th. Is Nicaragua versus Puerto Rico. I will be watching. If you're asking who I'm rooting for, I'm obviously going to root for the US of A. I am American. But if Puerto Rico gets pretty far, I'll root for them too. But I'm American. I always root for the US. If push comes to shove, if I have to pick a team, I'm picking my country.
That's fair. Right now in my head, all I'm thinking of is Nicaragua rocking cigars in their mouth and Puerto Rico bringing some Bacardi to the field. So you're going booze versus cigars. What a showdown.
Honestly, the hats this year, some teams have really nice hats. One of the teams that I saw and I was like, oh crap, that's really nice. If I can try to get an image of the damn thing. I liked Puerto Rico's hat. I thought that was kind of nifty. Israel's hat was kind of cool because it has a Star of David on there. But the hat that I really saw and I was like, that is awesome, was the Czech Republic. I want to say the Czech Republic put their hat together and they made the C and the R next to each other look like home plate. Cool. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I wish I could get a good picture of it and show you what I'm talking about. But if you get an opportunity, take a look at it. The Israeli hat has a Star of David on it with a baseball on the inside. Actually, did I just get the picture? I think I just got the picture. This might
Let
be
me
it.
see. Let me see.
Is this it? I don't think this is it. This might be like a while ago. Yeah, I think this is a couple of years ago. Definitely, because South Africa's there and they didn't play this year. It's kind of cool too. It's got like an A and a whole bunch of like stars around it, like their flag has all the stars on there. But Czech Republic had an awesome logo that I really dug. And New Zealand's too, because New Zealand had a team. I don't think they made it beyond the qualifier, but New Zealand's hat was kind of cool because it had like a little Maori looking thing to it. It was kind of wild the way I looked at it. Ah, there it is. I found the Czech Republic hat. But Yeah, I mean, again, it's another way to spread the game beyond just the U.S. and Latin America.
That's pretty sick.
That, right? The Czech Republic, it's like it's got like a little baseball next to a home plate with the C and the R. Oh, it was kind of cool.
I like it.
But I don't like the Team USA hat. I just don't. The U.S. with the star behind it. It's the same hat we've been wearing for like 20 years. I'm over it. Let's get a new injection of something modern in there.
Why can't they? You would think that if you want to pump up the World Baseball Classic, right, and you want to sell merch, okay, especially since everybody in America already has their favorite team's merch anyway for baseball, so it's not the easiest sell in the world to be like, oh, hey, buy this USA hat, because for like 2 weeks, it's like the thing to wear, and then after that, it's like, nah, maybe you wear it, maybe you won't. Make some merch that, I don't know, just like thumbs your nose at every other country, like America, because fuck you. Just right on the hat. Why not? America winning world wars like it's going out of style.
Back-to-back champs.
Dude, that hat looks like a Little League friggin' hat. That looks like you know what I mean?
I agree wholeheartedly. I'll say this year, for some reason, the World Baseball Classic decided to make the flag that they wear on the side of their hat like 1 inch by 2 inches or something. It's huge. And I want to say it might be because one country just had like a really intricate
and flag. They couldn't fit it.
Like there was something very specific that they were like, no. We can't make it that small because it won't look right.
The person sitting there is like, my fingers hurt. Hell, now your back's going to hurt. I like how they have the American flag assaulting forward.
Yeah. And actually, we're the only country that does that. I didn't like how they put the border on the American flag as white. It should be gold, according to the U.S. flag code. But moving forward, this year they're implementing some changes in Major League Baseball. There's a lot of new rules, and we're going to discuss them right now. So, first one's first. The shift. The shift will be outlawed for the first time in baseball. The shift has been prevalent since probably the 30s or 40s. They used to shift against Ted Williams. They called it the Williams shift back in the day. But obviously, due to analytics, the worst thing that ever happened in baseball, they shift for just about everybody and their mother. And for unfortunately, and the common knowledge, the thought process would be just lay down a bunt and go the other way. Unfortunately, changing your swing to try to hit a single the opposite way may prevent you from hitting that home run that the owner will pay you for. So you batting 220 and hitting 35 home runs is way more important than you batting 300 with 15 home runs, according to current Major League Baseball and modern analytics, because OPS and WAR plus and F4 and all those other bullshit fucking statistics that they came up with that are not real at all, and they're completely subjective and made up fairy tale fucking stats will get you paid more money than actual stats that are factual based on numbers. So
stupid.
I'm sorry. Shift is out.
Stupid. It's stupid. The shift shouldn't be outlawed. And while I find the shift annoying like everybody else does, and I understand your point of swinging the way you swing and playing to the best of your ability because it's better to hit more home runs than have a batting average through the roof. If you want to know why baseball is dying and you can't get fans in the fucking stands, it's because it's boring as shit. I don't want to see people strike out and pop up every fucking at bat. Okay? It's annoying. And you know what I would like to see? Somebody shift on you 2 at-bats in a row, and 2 at-bats in a row, you put it down the third base line and flip the fucking guy off while you're standing at first base. And then they bean you your third at-bat. That's the shit I want to see. Because guess what? They ain't fucking shifting you your fourth at bat. That's your shit sure. And that's how you get rid of the shift. Banning the shift is a joke, okay? And I've always been a proponent of you are supposed to be the best in the world, right? You're the top 1% of baseball players the world has created, and you can't hit opposite field. Yet I know little leaguers that can hit opposite fucking field. No, they're not facing somebody throwing 98 miles an hour, but it doesn't change the mechanics of putting the ball the opposite way. Especially for a single.
You gotta remember that it's not that they can't hit the opposite way.
No, it is. They can't.
It's monetarily not beneficial for them to do it.
They can't do it.
They absolutely could. They choose. to. And you'll hear some analytics nerd go, it's not so easy to just hit an 100-mile-an-hour fastball opposite field. You're absolutely right, but you can do it with a fucking curveball. Every pitch is not a fucking fastball, but you can do it with a curveball. And I'm sorry, but these guys can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. The problem is they're swinging for the fence every pitch. As I said before, the owner will pay them
killing baseball.
210 with 35 home runs than he will if they bat 300 with 10 home runs. A guy that bats 300 with 10 home runs will get paid fucking $10 million a year, and the guy that bats 220 with 35 home runs will make $50 million a year. That's just what we've created through analytics.
I get it, but tell me this. Would you rather see a guy hit 45 home runs this season, right? Let's say
it's not about entertainment. I'm entertained by guys getting on base. I'm entertained by base hits. I'm entertained by stolen bases, hit and runs, guys barreling into the catcher. I am entertained by that. But you ask anybody that's interested in baseball right now, what's the point of the game? And they will tell you winning. And that is not fucking true. It is not true. The point of sports on TV is not to win. It's not. It's to entertain. You know how I know this to be true? Who won the WNBA championship last year?
There's a WNBA.
But they won. That was the point, to win, right? No, the point's to entertain. People don't watch because it's not entertaining, not because their team lost. Because you can watch a game, and if it's got hits and it's got defense and it's got speed and you're impressed by what happened, even if your team lost, you're still sitting there going, it was a good fucking game.
Yeah, I don't find it entertaining when I have to see somebody fucking golden sombrero like every other game. Dude, I like you said, I am more impressed by somebody laying down a timely bunt. I am more impressed by somebody getting a stolen base that matters and then coming around to score on a single from second to home. That is the shit that it's like, oh my God, you just did that thing. What's it called? Oh, that's right. It's called baseball. You did it.
Again, the people are confused. They think the point of the game is to win. It's not the point of the game. They think the point of the game is to win by any means necessary. It's not. The point of the game is to be entertained. If you are not entertained, you will not watch. Baseball, you know what? Vince McMahon got it right. It's sports entertainment. The outcome doesn't matter if I'm not entertained during the event. It doesn't. I don't like basketball because I don't find it impressive for a 7-foot man to lift his hand up and put a ball through a 10-foot hoop. Put a midget on the hoop and have him swat away the ball. Now I'm entertained. Let's watch that shit. Okay? So there is nothing that they're going to do on a basketball court to entertain me. I don't find it interesting for a 7-foot guy to reach 3 feet in the air when his arm is 4 feet long and put a fucking ball on a hoop. I don't find that to be impressive at all. If he was 5 foot, I'd be like, oh shit, slam ball was impressive. Slam ball was fucking crazy. So the point is to be entertained, not to win. You could win, but nobody, who gives a shit? If the point of if the whole point of like, oh, I find it entertaining is winning, then every single sport where you were a winner would be the most profitable sport in the world. But it's not.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not entertaining to the masses. WNBA is a perfect example. It's not as entertaining as an NBA and therefore makes no money.
Right. On top of the fact that unless you're a female athlete, and there's a lot less, not to say, honestly, in this generation that's here and now, there's a lot less athletes overall, female, male, it doesn't really matter. But generally, gender-wise, females don't play sports as prevalently as men do. So if you already have the smaller end of the spectrum as far as people wanting to watch that sport because they played it, because generally that's why we're into it. We're into it because, I mean, I know for me, I got into baseball and hockey and football because I sat there and I watched it with my old man and BS'd about it, and he was entertained by it and interested in it, and I wanted to hang out with my dad. And I learned to love it, and we root for the same teams, and that's just you pass it on. It's like anything else. It's learn knowledge, you discover a love for it. So women's sports in general don't have a huge following of the opposite sex. And the WNBA is the case in point in that, because the WNBA is literally facilitated and paid for by subsidies of the NBA. The NBA is the only thing that keeps the WNBA afloat. They have never been profitable. It's not a profitable sport. And you want to say that may be a misogynistic issue? It's not. I will watch women's college softball every time it's on. I watch the Women's College Softball World Series every year. I find it awesome. I think it's epic.
I'll watch the LFL, the Legends Football League, and I'll watch women's volleyball every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Dude, I watched
very little interest in the Super Bowl this year, but if it was the LFL championship game, I'd have been watching.
Dude, the PGA, having the LPGA there, the LPGA is just as entertaining as the PGA. While they don't hit it as far, the shots that matter, and anybody will tell you that plays the game of golf, it doesn't matter if you drive the ball 200 yards or 350 yards. It's the shots on the approach to the green, stuffing it in close, the monster putts. Those are the things that are entertaining, and you don't have to be a certain gender to be able to do it. It's not all about the long ball.
From the Reds.
We could shoot from the Reds. They're going to serve us drinks with, umbrellas in it, but I mean, I'm game. Shit, I don't mind. I'll take an Appletini. Bring me a mojito.
But we're getting off topic. Let's
we are.
Pitch clock.
we shifted targets and because of the MLB shift.
Yeah. The pitch clock. Pitchers will have 15 seconds to throw a pitch with the bases empty and 20 seconds with a runner on.
Stupid.
The only thing I think it's the next rule. I don't think the pitch clock makes much of a difference. And I'll get to the end why they're doing certain things. Pickoffs. Pickoffs are one version of disengagement, which consists of any time the pitcher makes a pickoff attempt, fakes a pickoff, or simply steps off the rubber for any reason, as well as when the defense requests time. Pitchers are allowed 2 disengagements per plate appearance without penalty. The disengagements rule resets if a runner or runners advance a base within the same plate appearance. So, long story short, the pitcher's only allowed to pick off twice before the runner steals the base. Now,
that's so dumb, bro. That is so dumb. I'm sorry. They started ruining baseball when they got rid of the third to first move, okay? Because that was the right-handed version of
Nelson.
What?
When they outlawed the Jeff Nelson?
Exactly. Dude, how many times you see me pick somebody off playing baseball with that shit?
If I had to say at least 5 times. That's a lot. That's a lot. So you move when you only play like 15 games a year.
Yeah.
Say 5 times, and you don't pitch every game, obviously.
Right.
You might get in that 15 games, you might get 5 starts, 6 starts.
Right.
So we're talking maybe you pitched 20 games, 30 games in the years that we played.
Right.
Something like that, maybe 35. To say I saw you pick off at least 5 dudes, and you don't do the move all the time. Like, no. That's a lot. That's a lot to say, because how many times do you have a guy on first and third?
Right. But the fact that they got rid of that move, but the lefty's delight of just going right to first base is always there. That was the counteraction between it, and they got rid of that. And now you're going to say you can only make a move twice. So let me get this straight. I'm leading. You make a move to first base, right? I go back, safe. Ball. 1 pitch is thrown. Do it again, get a bigger lead, make it back just barely, but I'm safe. That's twice. So now when the pitcher's standing on the mound, I can go stand between first and second fucking base, and there's not a goddamn thing he can do about it?
He could throw it to the catcher, and the catcher could pick your ass off.
But that's the only place he can go with it?
Pretty much, yeah.
I can start strolling to second base, just like doing the chicken dance and shit.
No. He can throw it to the base if you steal. He can't try to pick you off.
But if I'm not stealing, I'm just like, well, and obviously if you're listening on radio or your phone, I just did like a weird turtle shuffle to the right. But so I can just shuffle like I'm taking a lead. I haven't broke for the bag yet. But now, see, that's going to be one of those things where like, well, was it a pickoff move or was he stealing? It's horseshit. Why implement these dumb rules?
I think they're going to say, and I'll tell you why they're going to do the dumb rules. Now, personally,
I know why, because it's all about TV time and they don't want to pay for it.
Absolutely. One of the things I kind of like the pickoff rule because it just got tiresome when one guy get on base and a pitcher would throw over to first base 6 times in a row because he's trying to buy time for the guy in the bullpen to warm up.
No, I get that.
That was crazy. But you're right.
Limiting the move to first base or second base or wherever you're going to go to 2 pickoffs, an at-bat. That's horrible.
There should never be a limit to pick off somebody at second base because pitchers don't pick off people at second base unless they're TJ, and then they try to pick off people at second base all the time. And invariably, I'll catch it in center field. Look at him going, "Stop throwing it to fucking second base. The second baseman can't catch."
Well, that's because I played second base when I didn't pitch.
Exactly. And I would continuously turn around and be like, "Stop throwing the ball to second base." I watch baseball all the time. Nobody throws to second base. Nobody except TJ Doyle. I'm still mad about it to this day.
Dude, but at least 30% of those times I would throw the ball to nobody because both the shortstop and second baseman would be staring like at the batter.
What I know, nobody picks off at second base.
But the guy's dead to rights every time. I'm just having a catch with you, Nick. You should sneak in and do the Little League play from center field.
Bullshit. Awful. Bigger bases. So the bases will increase from 15 inches to 18 inches. The only thing I don't like about that is that now the base paths are now shorter. That's the only thing I don't like. It used to be 90 feet. Now they're 89 feet and 6 inches because you added 3 inches on both sides of the base from first and second. So now they're both 3 inches closer to one another.
Wow.
And that bothers me. It was 90 feet my entire life. Now it's 86 and a half, and fuck that. Or not 89 and a half. And it bothers me. And I don't like it. Ultimately, what they're trying to do is they're trying to increase the amount of stolen bases that we have. But again, Major League Baseball, there's an easy way to do this. Outlaw analytics. Outlaw it. You want to make rules, outlaw analytics. I don't know how you do that, but somehow, some way, figure out a way to prove that analytics does not, because it doesn't. All it does is limit the amount of entertainment value that your game presents. Because the reason people don't steal bases is not because it's too hard. It's because fucking Moneyball said that stealing bases is bad. And all of these owners sat there and said, well, I understand Moneyball because that's all statistics. And I understand those statistics to be more accurate than our traditional statistics. I don't understand baseball. But if you show me a fucking pie chart that says this player is better, then I'll believe it because I understand pie charts. I'm a businessman. So that's why we have Moneyball. Has nothing to do with actually winning. The whole fucking story about the Oakland Athletics winning and being because of Moneyball is a fucking lie because they still haven't won a World Series to this fucking day. The reason they were competitive 20 years ago is because they played in a shitty fucking division. Everybody in that division was trash and they were mediocre. And not to mention, they failed so many years in a row that they had the number 1 pick for most of the mid-90s. So at the end of the 90s, they had 3 stud pitchers named Zito, Mulder, and fucking Hudson, who were traditional statistic gods. ERA, strikeout, whip. They fucking crushed it. They crushed it. All that advanced stat shit, they didn't sign Tejada or draft Chavez or sign Dye or draft Hudson or Zito or Mulder because of advanced stats. They did it because of fucking traditional scouts knowing baseball. But what does Moneyball concentrate on? Fucking Scott Hatteberg. You know who never won an MVP or went to the Hall of Fame? Scott fucking Hatteberg. Okay? He was a fucking bum. Okay? He had one. What did you just see that made you laugh?
It's just your vitriol when you said he's a fucking bum. You're so angry at Scott Hatteberg.
I'm mad because the movie and the book make it seem like Scott Hatteberg fucking David Justice, which in the movie they say they got him from the Yankees. No, they fucking didn't. The Yankees traded David Justice to the Mets for Robin Ventura. The Mets then traded David Justice to the Oakland Athletics. So good. Congratulations, Brad Pitt. You couldn't even fucking read a book and make it into a movie without fucking it up. Okay? It's all bullshit. The only reason it looks like analytics works now is because everybody employs it. It would be like tying everybody's arms behind their back and going, see, if you have no arms, it's easier to play the game. That's what that is. But we've gotten to this place where it's the 3 true outcome, right? 3 true outcome. Pitchers who can't pitch, all they can do is throw 100 miles an hour and every so often break off a fucking slider. That's all they can do. They don't know how to do anything else. They can't throw a fucking changeup on the corners. They can't do it. There will never be a fucking Jamie Moyer throwing 78-mile-an-hour fastballs, getting outs. Mind you, he was not a knuckleballer, but he was throwing 78-mile-an-hour fastballs, getting fucking outs. That you won't see that again. But I guarantee you right now, if you had a guy that threw 78 and hit the edges, the batters wouldn't be able to do shit because they've been seeing 100 miles an hour all fucking day. There's the days of the Doc Wingates are gone. Doc Wingate now. Not
for nothing. How many times did you see somebody have to come in because they're out of arms and the left fielder has to come in and throw a 55-mile-an-hour bloop floater pitch and get strikeouts?
That being said, new rule, teams will be more limited. This is from ESPN. Teams will be more limited in which they can pitch a position player. The previous rule allowed them to use one when up or down by 6 or more runs, but the sides are discussing a tweak in which the leading team would have to be up by as many as 10 or more, while the trailing team would have to be down by 8 or more in order to pitch a position player. Now, I understand the competition community doing that because as soon as you kind of say, well, I'm giving up, the fans will leave the seats entirely. It's bad for the game when you literally punt a game. Imagine in football, if you were down by 50 points, you didn't want your star offense to get hurt. So every time the offense went out there, you just punted because you were losing by so much. Like, it's bad for the sport. It's not good. So I kind of agree with the whole position player thing. However,
I understand for the team that's losing, but for the team that's winning, that's like, these guys suck. And why are we wasting an arm today?
I agree for the team that's winning. Like, it's kind of fun, actually.
Right.
If you're winning. If you're losing, it sucks. But if you're winning, fuck it. Maybe it'll make it a game.
Right. And if you're losing, you can't even be mad at it. That's when you're like, yo, this guy literally shags fly balls for a living. And now he's striking us out. We suck.
But the I guess the question arises: what about what happens with somebody like Shohei Ohtani?
Position player, though.
He is, though. He plays right field. I mean, he doesn't play all the time.
That's what I mean. He's more of a DH than.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just saying. What about somebody like what was this kid's name? He used to play center field for the Cardinals. That he came up through the minors as a pitcher, but he was not good. And he's like, "Fuck it, I'll come back as a center fielder." And ended up playing center field for the rest of his career. But he's a pitcher. So what happens about somebody like that? He can still throw 85, 90 miles an hour, throw a nasty hook in there. He's just not major league quality. He's minor league quality, but he's a major league quality center. How do you say, well, that guy can't pitch? Why? He plays both ways. What's the problem?
That's a good question because it's like, what's to stop you from playing your pitcher at first base other than the obvious? You know what I mean?
Rick Ankiel.
Rick Ankiel.
Great arm.
You know what I mean? Like, do you have to label each player now going into the season now that you're limiting when you could put a position player in there? Like in a situation like Shohei Ohtani, let's say he doesn't DH, he's either right field or he's pitching, and that's it. Is there going to now be a label of P/RF for that player position? Because
great question.
All these things, it's not helping the game. All it is just making stupid, confusing, nonsensical bullshit. Okay, you want to help the game? Fire fucking Angel Hernandez. Just fire him. Kick him in the dick and tell him to take a walk. That's how you make the game immediately better.
So the last rule that they just did is the Ghost Runner is here to stay for the foreseeable future.
So
I think anybody who loves baseball is against it. To me, as a person that reads statistics, and I understand statistics, I don't like the idea that there's a runner on second base who was out in the previous inning, and if the pitcher in the 10th inning gives up a hit and he scores, he gets charged with a run added to his ERA that came from nowhere. That runner did not get on base by any. So you're telling me that if a runner gets on base via error, I don't get charged with a run. But if a guy magically gets on second base because the fucking commissioner of baseball put him there, I get charged with a run?
How about the fact that you're changing the essence of the game just because it's extra innings? Now, that's one thing that any pitcher will tell you. There is a severe difference when pitching from the stretch and the windup. So now, right from Jump Street, extra innings, I have to start in the stretch and not the windup. What if my curveball snaps a little harder from the windup, not the stretch? What if my circle change drops a little more from the windup, not the stretch. And now you're automatically putting somebody on base for me to worry about, number one. Number two, an earn run that I have to worry about against my stats that you decided to put there. And number three, you're changing the dynamic of how I'm going to attack the, 4, 5, and 6 hitter coming up in the 10th inning.
And people will sit there and go, well, that's just a change of the game, and now it made it more interesting. The truth of the matter is, ESPN wants the game to be over because they have fucking, I don't know, the Westminster Dog Show after the game. They don't want it to be extra innings. They don't want it. They really don't. That's why every other sport that makes more money than baseball is a timed event.
Well, it's not even that too. It's if you pay
because they're promoted more.
Well, let's put it this way. If you paid for extra, you paid for commercial block between the 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock hour, and the game goes into extra innings, guess what? You just got the whole MLB crowd for a lesser price.
That's and they hate it. And they hate. There is not one fan in the world that's like, I can't stand having to watch extra baseball. It's not a thing. And anybody who's sitting there going, well, they want to attract more fans. If you didn't like baseball at 3 hours, you're not going to like it at 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Nope.
You're not going to like it. It's not going to make you enjoy it any fucking more. All of these changes that they're making to the game to try to attract new fans are not working. Do you know why? It's very simple. 3 true fucking outcome baseball is boring. It's boring. That's it.
You know what? They're not going to be satisfied, or at least I'm not going to be satisfied until the rules changes get so severe that we introduce the typical schoolyard wiffle ball rules. Pegging. Pegging is in play. You bunt to the pitcher and he throws a 98-mile-an-hour fastball into your back from 12 feet away. Sucks for you. You're out. I'd actually watch that.
Yeah, but moving forward, NHL Rangers on a 6-game win streak. Talk to me about that.
I want to talk to you about the fact that they're on a 6-game win streak. They have scored 31 goals in those 6 games. And the last 3 games, they have scored 6 goals in a row. So 6, 6, 6. Not a great omen, but 6 wins in a row, 31 goals is phenomenal, especially the trips that they've been taking. They've been bouncing around a lot. They've been away most of those games. I think they've only played 2 home games in February, I want to say. So me, like yourself, I did not stay up last night to watch them play in Vancouver.
West Coast swings in any sport, they should be against the law. If you're going to play on the West Coast, suck it, West Coasters. All right. You start your game at fucking 5 so that I can watch the game at 8. You know how much money every sports team loses when they go on the West Coast? I'm sorry. Your population is not higher than our population. More people live on the East Coast. There's more money to be made on the side of the fucking planet. So when your games, but I should have to fight 5 o'clock traffic to go to the game or watch the game when I don't give a fuck. They lost millions of dollars in advertising. Millions. You think your fucking hot dog makes a difference?
No, I know. Listen, but in those 6 wins in a row, I think the statement of those 6 wins is definitely Rangers versus Hurricanes. Rangers 6, Hurricanes 2. Terry Panarin, 4 goals and an assist, 5 points in that game. And the fact that somebody threw a loaf of bread onto the ice instead of a hat when he recorded the hat trick is epic. Whoever that person was, man, woman, child, concession stand runner, it doesn't matter. You deserve a parade, sir, ma'am, child. You deserve a holiday. You deserve like a sandwich named after you because they threw a loaf of bread this big on the ice. It was amazing. And if you're not watching on YouTube, it's probably the width of my shoulders. The thing was huge.
He's got broad shoulders, too. And for those who don't know, the reason they threw a loaf of bread on the ice is because Artemi Panarin's nickname is Breadman because his last name is Panarin, very close to Panera Bread, which is a franchise that makes wraps and weak-ass smoothies. So they call him Breadman as the joke.
They make good soups. I like the soups at Panera.
They have 5 games this month in the Garden.
That's it, right?
It has not been played yet. Actually, no, I take it back. 2 of them have not been played yet. So they've only been home 3 days. 3 games.
3 days, yeah. I said 2.
But they've only played 6 games this month. Hockey.
It's weird.
tonight's one of those sad nights for anybody from New York. There are no New York sports on tonight. The Rangers are off tonight. They're on the West Coast swing. They don't play again until tomorrow at 9:00.
I mean, if you're a golf fan, you got to watch golf, up until about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, because it's played on the West Coast Genesis Invitational, right, or Open, or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. I just call it the Genesis. So you got some golf. You got to watch Tiger Woods come back and play. I thought he played pretty well, but at least you got a little bit of sports if you're a PGA fan. If you're not a PGA fan, you saw nothing.
I was even going to – I'm not a basketball person, but I was going to watch the Knicks. But then I remember the Knicks are off until like next week because of the All-Star game.
Right. Honestly, tonight would be the night to, I don't know, macrame or learn how to quilt.
But Knicks are on fire too right now.
Yeah.
But back to the Rangers. Next game's against Edmonton. Tomorrow
Be a fun one.
Connor McDavid out there against our Blue Shirts. Obviously, I'm not ashamed to say Connor McDavid is the best hockey player since Sidney Crosby came through.
Definitely a better goal scorer, better than Sidney Crosby as far as goal scoring ability.
I mean prospect wise.
Yes.
Meaning you came up and everybody was like, that guy's going to be Gretzky.
Yeah, there'll never be another Gretzky. Let's
making commercials with Connor. What do they call him? McJesus.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky makes a sick wine. Just throwing it out there.
Kravtsov requested a trade. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's the opinion is going to be obviously a little biased because he was a doucher coming into the season for last year and the shit that he pulled. And then he comes into this season and there's no place for him on this team, essentially. Who's he better than? Who is he replacing on this roster right now? And we don't have a place for him. And I understand he's a young talent, but it seems that he doesn't want to be patient. And the situation that's presented to him, being a New York Ranger, being in this market, being part of the most profitable team in the NHL, you don't want to wait for earn your opportunity into this lineup and you want out, which I can understand because he's a gamer. Fair enough. I think he's cutting his nose off to spite his face. I think he's screwing the pooch. And I mean, I wish him luck. I don't want to be a dick about it, but dude, if you end up in fucking Seattle, sucks for you, buddy.
I agree with you. What he did last year, and maybe it's these guys getting in their own head, thinking they're believing the hype.
Yeah,
they think I'm a first round pick. I deserve to play on day one. Well, I mean, every team gets a first round pick, but not every team needs a first round pick. But every team gets a first, for the most part, unless you trade it away. Every team gets a first round pick, but not every team needs a first round pick. And I honestly would have liked to see him with more of an attitude like Ottman has, where you're just going down, learn what you got to do, show that I can't wait to see Ottman show up.
I really hope they pull him up next year.
But a lot of stuff that he's doing,
I honestly hope
it's that he's doing it quietly and he's going out there.
No, he is.
He's
not doing it quietly. He's doing it happily because he's just racking up the goals and points down in OHL. But I would really like to see Ottman be part of the lineup going into the playoffs. It's not going to happen. They're not going to pull him up for it. But he's going to be one of those guys where it's like, dude, you got the kid line developing. They're not going to be kids anymore. You bring up Ottman and throw him into the mix. It's just going to – that's one of the things where the business side of hockey and holding on to him not being in his NHL years yet and saving money that way, that irks the shit out of me. I understand the business aspect of it. But, I mean, the kid lights the lamp almost every night in the OHL or AHL. Or I think he's OHL he's playing. You can't tell me – you can't tell me that he wouldn't do just amazing stuff if you gave him these years to develop and, get 3 or 4 goals and learn the way of the NHL, but then be 21 years old and score 40 goals. Because guess what? You grinded it out for a year and a half. and you understand what's coming at you, and you understand the speed, and you understand the finesse aspect of the game and what's expected to play at the NHL level.
Yeah, but I liked his overall attitude about.
No, great attitude.
He's a first round pick too, but he's not sitting there going, "I deserve to play for the Rangers right now, and I'm not going to fucking play for you people if I can't." But that seems to be Kravtsov's mindset. Like they wanted to send him down to the Wolfpack, and you know what? Bless his soul. What's his face went down? I think Sammy Blais went down for a little bit, and mind you, he's a fucking NHL player,
right?
And he took the assignment down to the Wolfpack to get his shit straight. Came back. He's traded away, obviously, right now. But God bless Sammy Blais for not being an asshole about it.
Right.
Because ultimately, that's what Ranger fans see from Kravtsov, is that he was an asshole about it. Like, you're a rookie. You're brand fucking new. You haven't played a fucking single fucking puck drop in the NHL, and you're making demands. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that.
Nope.
That's not a way to make friends. And I guarantee you the veterans on the team don't like it either.
Well, I was going to say
that went through the fucking minors, that played juniors, and he had cut his teeth.
You want to talk about a place where you don't want to mouth off and piss off the veterans on your team? It's in the NHL where they can punch you in the face and nothing's going to happen. It's not like, NFL camp where there's going to be an issue. No. If you're on the ice for practice and it gets a little physical and you drop the gloves, it's part of the fucking game. No one's getting fined. No one's getting benched. It's, you boys done? Good. Clean yourselves up. Get the fuck back out there.
They're just talking.
Let them work it out.
That's it. Hey, listen, I did the same thing with my Joes. I said, listen, if you guys want to fight, that's great. We'll go to the boxing ring, put some gloves on, and you guys can wail on each other, and that's it. We're over with it. But we're not fighting, throwing punches. There's going to be rules to how we fight, but I'll let you fight. If you want to fight, be man enough to say, fuck that guy. I'm not going to have no sucker punches. I'm not going to have it. I was like, we're going to throw gloves on. You guys are going to throw hands, and that's it. I'm like, I'm not going to do this slap boxing bullshit, tackling each other down to the ground. Nope. Put the boxing gloves on and let the hate fly.
Love it.
But all the rules. But nobody ever wanted to fight.
Of course not. Then you got to think about it. Then you got to think about it. Like, oh man, I might get my ass kicked in front of all these people.
Is it worth it right now? But yeah, I'm not on Kravtsov's side. I get rid of him.
Yeah.
I'm tired of hearing his tears. He probably got a tremendous talented skill set, but I'm
not enough to earn a spot on this team right now. So if he wants out, give him out. But you can't be one of those teams that say, okay, and move him for nothing and don't get the return you deserve. You got to get a good haul for him.
I agree. But you know what? To me, it's one of those things where you could be very talented. But I'm of the mindset, like people like OBJ and Josh Donaldson, which if they show up and they're on their game, they're great baseball players, right? Josh Donaldson's a former MVP, but he's an asshole human being, and I don't want assholes on my team. It becomes very hard for me to root for an asshole.
Yeah.
So, anything else to talk about hockey? Any trades on the horizon?
No. It's funny. Every time I open up Rangers Twitter, I have to hear about, Patrick Kane is still a reality, but we have to use a third team to move. Guys, stop. It's not happening.
Why? I don't understand.
We don't need him. We don't need him. He has like one extra goal than Lafreniere at this point.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me you think that he is going to become the 30-something goal scorer Patrick Kane, which he's only done it 6 times in his 15-year career. Okay, 6 times when he had stacked teams where the team and the franchise sold out to get cups. 6 times he did it. You can't tell me that, he'd love to play with Panarin. Everybody would love to play with Panarin.
Yeah.
Dude, I give my left big toe to play with Panarin.
I just want him to call me Jacob. Jacob.
He can call me whatever the fuck he wants.
Just don't call you late for dinner?
Yeah. Dude, like it's just enough of the Patrick Kane bullshit. He's not worth it. He's got no more juice left to squeeze out of him. It's over. It's done with. It's not even like he's like the greatest dude ever, or he's just the veteran that we need. He's not. He's like, for what?
Messy. He's not a Gretzky.
He gets into fucking fistfights with cab drivers in Chicago. How's that going to work out in New York City? The cab drivers are 10 times bigger assholes.
Uber is a lot more prevalent, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want him. I didn't want him at all. He's not worth $3 million. Wow, 2 extra goals, and he's worth 2.25 more than Lafreniere. Yeah, let's pay him all that extra money and absorb 75% of his contract. Or, if we use the third team, we only have to absorb 50% of his contract. Stop. You're not real Ranger fans. You just want a Patrick Kane jersey. That's all you want. As I sit here with my Wayne Gretzky jersey, but he's the great one, so it's allowed.
I've got a. Actually, do I have it anymore? I think it's in there somewhere. I've got a Rick Nash jersey.
Do you?
I do, somewhere in there.
I got a white Messier jersey, but I got a mustard stain on it from the last time I was at the Garden. I got to take care of that.
You know what's crazy is I got Guinness on my Kako white jersey, and it came out.
Get it?
Guinness is great like that. But
Guinness is magic. Shout out to Guinness.
Forward, before we get into what I really want to talk about, real quick on the Super Bowl, Eagles fans, get over it. It was a fucking hold, okay? And they'll sit there and go, wait a second, but it didn't impede his route. I'm sorry. Does the rule on holding say that it has to impede the guy's route, or does it say you have to hold? And there's a clear video of him doing this and pulling the guy's shirt. Like, is it ticky-tack? No. You see this? Like, that's not a ticky-tack call. A ticky-tack call, by the way, he wraps his arms around him after the fact.
Yes, he does.
So if you want to say the ticky-tack hold call was the wrapping of the arms, okay. But pulling on the jersey for the entirety of football, in the history of football, since they've worn jerseys, has always, always, always been a hold. Impeding the route had nothing to do with it because that's called pass interference or interference in general. Is the ball's in the air, I threw the ball, and I impeded your route, and therefore that's pass interference. If I prevent you from moving, regardless of whether the ball's thrown in your direction or not, or the ball's playable or not, it's a hold. That's it. It's a hold. The player came out and said, I held him.
So I think the argument in this situation, the main arguments, the focus of the arguments is you're going to let a penalty dictate the game. When the NFL has been doing it for how long, where we just award quarterbacks first downs because they cry enough to say, that was roughing the quarterback because he tackled me and then laid on me for a tenth of a second. When 4 years ago, they'd be like, okay, stop being a bitch. But now so penalties do affect the game. That's the NFL. Then you'll say, well, essentially every time you play defense like that, there's always going to be holds. Then you are sitting there knowingly accepting that at any moment you can get flagged and it can change the course of the game. While I agree, you'll see holding a lot, especially on the line and especially within the first 5 yards, that you'll see things that could be called. But guess what? When they are called, it doesn't mean they're unjustified. It was called. It was enough for the ref to say, hey, that didn't look right.
And at the same token, you also have to bear in mind that the referee is a human being that makes mistakes, and sometimes he doesn't see shit. Because today I see guys going, I was distracted watching the hold because I saw the illegal hands to the face. I'm sorry, is it the same referee that makes the same call? I'm pretty sure the same referee that calls illegal hands to the face is not the same referee that's watching a hold by a wide receiver on the outside of the hash.
Well, let's call it what it is. What's easier to spot? When two players' arms are here on each other and like that with guys all around him, or a jersey going that way for a second. It's pretty easy to spot that, no?
Again, the player said he did it, all right? And everybody wants to point out the fact that, but the game came down to that. The game didn't come down to that. There was a shit ton of other mistakes that happened in the game. Never mind the fact that the Eagles were up, 25 to 10 at the half? Something like that, 24-10 at the half. So what the fuck happened? That at one point they were down 34 to fucking 24. What happened? Right. But it was that one play that lost you the game. No, it was an accumulation of multiple plays that lost you the game. All right. Listen, you had a great season. That's fine. Right now, you crying about this hold that never that took place, and you trying to sit there and say that it didn't. It's sad for your franchise. All right. In other news, there seems to be a war of words between Juju Smith-Schuster and members of the Philadelphia Eagles. Juju Smith-Schuster on Valentine's Day kind of poking fun at James Bradbury, posted a Valentine's Day card, and I'll show it to you right now. For those of you who are listening, the cards is a picture of James Bradbury, and it says, "I'll hold you most when it matters." Well, I'll hold you when it matters most. Is what the card says. The picture of James Bradbury, obviously in reference to Juju being held by James Bradbury, and ironically enough, guys like AJ Brown and CJ Gardner-Johnson, and they all came to the swinging defense of James Bradbury, who really didn't say anything in regard to the matter. And then Patrick Mahomes kind of came out and said these guys really got nothing better to do with their time than, and then AJ Brown complained that he said that Juju Smith-Schuster complained to Patrick Mahomes, and that Patrick Mahomes came to his defense because he can't defend himself. All the while, the joke was about James Bradbury, and AJ Brown and CJ Gardner-Johnson seemed to have a lot more to say about it than James Bradbury did. So, I mean, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Honestly, it's in bad taste. I don't think it's sportsmanship wise, it's in bad taste. But in the NFL, let's be honest, when we have guys doing snow angels next to guys writhing in pain as the trainers come out, and fans defending the player doing the snow angel, I don't think fans of the NFL or players in the NFL really give a shit too much about sportsmanship or fair play. That's not in their vocabulary for the most part. It was funny as a person, not but as a sportsman, like somebody that likes sports and played sports his whole career. I wouldn't want somebody to do it to me, especially when the player came out and said, "Yeah, I made a mistake. They won, good game for them." And then you want to try and clown me after the fact. Like if I was James Bradbury, I would just go coincidentally run into Juju Smith-Schuster in the street and break his fucking face. Like he'd get the Geno Smith treatment real fast. That's me. Me personally, I'm a firm believer, like you play a sport, you would not be able to play it for the most part, most sports, without an opponent. And that opponent deserves your respect, because without them, you're not playing the game.
Right. And again, it's not like they said some disparaging remark to you that you decided to clown them over. No, you just decided to clown them because, like, hey, you're riding on your high horse. Hey, exactly. Ride on your high horse silently and enjoy it. And don't poke the bear because you won. It's called like winning graciously, not winning and being a dick face.
Yeah, be a stand-up guy, because Kelsey and Mahomes, they did it, and they are far bigger contributors than Juju Smith-Schuster.
Fact.
So I mean, it's funny, but I disagree with the entire thing. Small short Jets thing. There's conversations about Aaron Rodgers going into isolation to think about his future and all that shit. He needs to get over himself and just decide what he wants to do next season. At the same time, the Raiders cut Derek Carr. Yeah, Derek Carr. Derek Carr is now a free agent, and that might bring some possibilities toward him in the near future with the Jets, or maybe the possibly I think Tennessee's looking for a quarterback. Houston looking for a quarterback. There's quite a few opportunities out there for him. New Orleans is looking for a quarterback. There's quite a few opportunities out there for him, and there's pros and there's cons. I saw a little conversation about the possibility of Justin Fields being moved before the draft, and the Bears being very high on Bryce Young. Me personally, I don't find myself to be very high on Justin Fields at all. But
not even a little bit.
The Jets should trade for him. Why? So we can have two young quarterbacks that can't complete a screen?
Yeah, right. No, I'm good.
So ridiculous. But moving on to the PGA Tour, and TJ, you're going to lead a discussion.
Yeah. So we kicked off the Genesis, and right now the leaderboard looks like this: Max Homa -7.
Real quick, was Phil Collins there?
Phil Collins?
Yeah.
No, he was not.
Oh, I figured at the Genesis.
Phil Collins was not. Keith Mitchell also -7, tied with Max Homa in first place. John Rahm -6, Matt Kuchar -5, Colin Morikawa -5, and Harris English -5. And then so that's your leaderboard right now. We got a whole bunch of people -4, -3. But the big story, obviously, was Tiger Woods making his triumphant return. Honestly, wedge game looked pretty damn good. Putting looked so-so. Off the tee, Now, a little bit left to be desired, but then again, a lot of people were looking like that because the wind was gusting, and these guys were having a tough time figuring out how to put the ball on the green with it being so firm and the green rolling out so much. Like, these guys were legitimately aiming short of every hole to just barely make it on the green because the firmness of the greens, and it was essentially like trying to land a golf ball on concrete and get it to stay. It was insane, the bounces that were happening. But it's awesome to see Tiger Woods back. The question of Tiger Woods, I don't think, is his talent level at this point. It's just can his body endure 4 days of tournament play? Anybody that wants to sit there and say that Tiger Woods is done, you're out of your friggin' mind. I bet on Tiger Woods any day of the week and twice on Sunday, especially when he's wearing red and black. He makes the sport better. Having him in the field immediately makes the tournament more of a much watch situation. Just more, even if he's not in that first page of the leaderboard going into Sunday, it's still must watch TV. You know what I mean? And I feel like everybody around him in that like circle of gravity around Tiger Woods plays at a different level because they know Tiger's there. Tiger's playing with them. Tiger's on my heels. And I mean, we saw the last time Tiger won the Masters. Him being where he was and in the position he was got everybody in front of him to fuck up because if you make a mistake and Tiger's in the hunt, you're going to lose. He's not going to make a mistake in those situations. So I love watching the Genesis. I think it's a tremendously hard course at Riviera. I always enjoy watching golf played at Riviera, but having Tiger in the field right now is epic, and he got to play with Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas, which is just, I mean, it doesn't get better than that, like grouping. So I'm excited.
How was Peter Gabriel's game at the Genesis?
Well, they moved on to Phil Collins, and that was it. So that's your rundown. I mean, Thursday round, tomorrow's Friday. You got the second round. Let's see. I if I had money bet on it, I'd put money on Tiger making the cut, no problem. I think the Genesis, and especially the way the golf course played today, it may be, depending on pin placement and several people being in between, -4 and -7, it might be one of those things where they screw around a little bit and make it even harder. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tiger comes out and shoots -3 and is just back in the hunt because you have, Max Homa go out and shoot straight par or even over 1. And -6 after Friday being a score going into Saturday as the first place. So I'll be watching. If you're a PGA fan, I'm sure you'll be watching too. And speaking about watching things and being a PGA fan or a LIV fan, Full Swing was released on Wednesday on Netflix just yesterday. I've gotten through about 4.5, almost 5 episodes, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty awesome. The first episode starts out with Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and kind of how they came up through together through high school and into collegiate golf and all that stuff, and knowing each other since I think they're like 13 years old and playing against each other, and just that rivalry that they have with each other. It's pretty cool to get a little inside track on what these guys are like in real life and just their personalities and how personable they are, because you don't see that really on the golf course. And the interviews are always very stuffed shirt. Golf is one of those hoity-toity stuffed shirt games. It's getting a little better and getting a little more fan and player friendly, but it's still going to be very prim and proper. And to get to see the behind the scenes of these players that we watch every weekend go, to battle against each other, it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying most of it. My one big takeaway, and Nick, I know you only watched the first episode, but when you get to it, when they go into the Brooks Koepka situation, his wife is just fake laughing and playing it up from the camera. Their beautiful house. They have a friggin' amazing house. Like almost everybody that they showed their houses on this Netflix show. But Brooks has an awesome house and awesome big ass pool and lounging area around the pool. And of course, his wife is rocking a thong bathing suit and keeps walking in front of the camera. And it's like, she's trying to throw everything at the camera and thinks this is her fucking moment to be somebody special and not just a golfer's wife. But Brooks Koepka is literally sitting there telling his lifelong friend and his wife, I don't think I can compete with these guys anymore. I don't know what to do. And they're just like, kind of like, oh yeah, so anyway, it's like, oh my God, could you be any more vapid? I couldn't deal with that. I'd rather live alone the rest of my life.
Vapid.
You like that?
That's a word, sir. That is a word. Looking at pictures of Brooks Koepka's wife right now. She has no ass. Ask my girlfriend. I got a fatter ass than she does. And I watched you from behind for years playing center field while you played second base and pitched. Big can on this guy.
It's a fact.
Skated a lot, you could tell.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, apparently his wife is an actress.
She was definitely acting for the Netflix show.
So she probably is really not good at her job and therefore, is doing her absolute best to get her face out there so that she can get better jobs because she's been in movies like Attack of the 50-Foot Cheerleader, Three-Headed Shark Attack, Sharknado 5, and yeah.
I have a better IMDb. I was an Indian in the cupboard, bitch.
Were you really?
Yes, I was.
That's kind of racist, but all right.
I was uncredited, just an extra in the background. But I did have half a second of screen time, FaceTime.
I gotta watch.
I don't have my SAG card though.
I gotta watch that. That sounds awesome.
I'll show it to you, dude. I'll get the clip.
But I haven't. I haven't watched it since I was a kid. Since it became offensive to call them Indians. I'll have to watch Native American in the cupboard when I get the opportunity.
Fair enough. But yeah, dude, honestly, you end up feeling bad for Brooks Koepka, and Brooks always came off like a frat boy, like kind of douchey to me. But he's literally sitting there watching his wife, like, oh, what do you think about this? And oh my God, this is the bathing suit cover up. And he's literally sitting there like, if I seen him and I didn't know him from a hole in the wall, and I didn't even know he was a pro golfer, and I seen him sitting on a park bench like that, and I was walking past, I'd walk up to him, put a hand on his shoulder, be like, dude, you cool? You all right, man? You want to talk? He just looked like defeated and like just dealing with some inner struggle and just thought process. And his chick's like, oh, what do you think about this cover up? It's like, oh my God.
Man's having a moment and you're not doing anything.
Like anytime a chick is like, oh, because men don't show emotion and they bottle it up inside, it's because you don't fucking notice like when a dude's sitting there quiet and like, it's amazing how I could pick that out right away. Like a dude, like somebody just sitting there like solemn and stone faced, and it's like something's going on. If he wants to let me in, I'll jump right in, but he's probably not going to let me in. And look at this suit. Oh my God, it's going to look so good on the beach. Like you could see why somebody just goes nuts and it's like, hey, so what happened? It's like, listen, I'm having a really bad day. I'm having a career issue, and she just kept talking about bathing suits. So I kicked her. I don't
know. We're not promoting abuse at the home, domestic abuse.
Not like injury to kick, but just like a little right to the back of the shin, like knock him down a little bit. Again, joking. But yeah, no. So far, I'm enjoying the show very much. I wish they showed more live stuff because they keep alluding to it and people leaving and going to live. And
yeah, I saw that in the first they did Dustin like in the first episode.
Yeah, dude, they that's all they do. So 5 episodes in, all they do is just kind of like allude to it a little bit, but never really show any of it. And they want to make it. If I have to hear Brandon Chambly talk about where's the money coming from with Live Golf and the Khashoggi thing, it's like, really, dude? Where's the money coming from the PGA? Pretty sure the PGA has a tournament in Saudi Arabia. I know DP World Tour does. Pretty sure Nike has a big stock in the PGA. Who makes those Nike fucking shoes? That's right, children in sweatshops. Where's that money coming from? Cut the shit. Like, cut the friggin' shit. If you want to play that game of where's the money coming from and it's not coming from a just place, then if you go far enough back, is any money coming from America just?
Tax dollars, that's about it.
But I'm just saying, like, if you go far enough back that
Anyway, so
dude, within the last century, you could be like, oh, don't take anything from Germany because look what the fuck they did in the 40s. So you can't keep doing that. I'm not sitting here defending the Saudi government acting like they're the greatest thing in the world, but no big company and no person with money is clean. Money is not clean. Wealth is not clean. Gaining wealth is, slitting a lot of throats in the process and crushing other businesses and ruining people.
Ruining them.
Ruined. So, enough with the bullshit with the live stuff, but they don't really go into the live too much, and that kind of irritates me a little bit, considering that the first tournament was already played in London at that time that they were filming, but you could tell they were very standoffish. And the one thing that does annoy me, and I want you to count it out, take a shot every time they mention it. Every time they mention, golf is played on Thursday and Friday, and you have to make the cut. If you're not in the top 50%, usually 65 golfers, you don't get paid. They've said it at least 15 times in the first 5 episodes, as if you forgot, like from episode 4 to episode 5, so you needed 3 more reminders. That to make the cut, you have to be, if, there's 150 guys, you got to be top 75, or else you don't go on, and then you don't make any money. But I was actually impressed by you get to see the rise of Scotty Scheffler and just how awesome it was last season with him, how he came on the scene and from the Waste Management on won, I think, 3 out of 5 starts in the PGA Tour. He amassed like over $5 million in winnings in the span of 6 weeks. Like, that's a great 6 weeks. That's a ridiculous, 6-8 weeks, whatever it was. They're insane. Like, legitimately, the man could retire and never do another thing the rest of his life.
It makes me sad.
How insane is that? It's like, I spent 8 weeks of my life doing something amazing, and now I don't have to do anything the rest of my life. And the funny thing is, right before he won the Waste Management Open, he's walking around his local neighborhood with his wife, getting a cup of coffee and stuff like that. And it's just like, come on, that's not what millionaires do, sir.
Why are you wearing New Balance, sir?
Yeah, come on.
But anything else on the PGA?
No, I was going to ask you what you thought about the first episode.
It was interesting. I did not know that Jordan Spieth and JT were friends like that. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was kind of great to see the relationship with his pop. That was cool. I think everybody's dad is their first teacher, their first coach, and his dad is still his coach to this day. And it's special, I like to hang out with my dad. I like to hang out with your dad because my dad moved to Florida. Your dad, not a villain. So that I thought that was cool. I mean, the golf stuff is secondary because they're people. To me, when I watch documentaries about wrestling, I don't care about the wrestling part. I want to know about the person that you don't get to see. You get to see the wrestling. You get to see the golf. The golf is on TV. I can watch that whenever. But the thought process that goes into it, the hard work that goes into it, the relationships that go into it, you don't see that. And this is exposing that. And I think that was the part, again, them being best friends and traveling together on private jets and being young guys and his dad is still his coach. And that was the interesting part to me.
Well, just think about
clubhouse where they're throwing clubs and they're throwing fits. That was cool to me.
Think about how now watching it from their perspective and trying to get a little insight on how they act and how important winning and doing well is to them because it's literally their livelihood. And how much pressure they put on when they're not on the golf course, how much pressure they put on themselves. And then imagine you have a putt from 7 feet out for the win. Imagine the pressure you're putting on yourself when you're not at the golf course, and then you put yourself in a position to win. And if you don't hit the putt about 100% perfect, or at least 99% perfect, you lose. Insane.
So my question is, let's say none of those things are true and you have no money riding on it and you're not a professional golfer. Does that justify your reaction to be somewhat similar to theirs when they just lost $7 million?
I honestly think it's based on competitiveness.
Competitive with who?
If you're just competing against yourself, you're always trying to win, right?
Okay. I can't lose against myself either, just so you know.
Yes, you can.
It's like masturbating. You don't lose no matter what happens, okay?
That's not true. That's not true. It's just wasting time if you don't finish.
I mean, that's kind of the point of recreational sports.
Not really, because you get satisfaction in that. Dude, the team can lose, but if I belt 2 home runs, don't I leave there at least a little satisfied?
That's different. You're with a team. That's a different story. Playing golf, there is no team. It's just you playing against your 3 friends that suck.
I'm pretty sure Ricky Fowler hitting a hole-in-one last weekend at the Waste Management. He walked out of there pretty fucking satisfied.
Ricky Fowler plays for money. It's not TJ Doyle playing on a Thursday afternoon because he doesn't have work, snapping clubs over his knee because he missed a fucking putt.
I don't ever snap my putter over my knee because my wife bought me that putter and it actually means something to me. So it's not about missed putts. It's never missed putts. It's usually bad iron play or bad wedge play that makes me go nuts. Okay. Yeah. And lately it's been my irons have been solid. My wedges not so great. My putting sucks. But then again, we're playing winter golf. The greens are all lumpy and shitty. So I'm not going to get mad at myself for that. My driver's been atrocious. So I'm hoping to correct that when we play on Monday.
I look forward to it, sir. And that being said, that brings our show to a close. We appreciate you spending this time with us, and we'll catch you again next week. We might have a special guest. We'll get with you next week. I'm Nick. That's TJ. We're the Scoreboard Addicts Podcast, and we'll catch you again next time.